They were laughing at a widow. The afternoon sun was hot over the dusty compound, shining on a row of plastic chairs and an old white canopy. Under it, men and women dressed in black sat whispering, wiping pretend tears, and watching Amara like she was a joke. At the center of the compound, Jacob's coffin rested on a wooden stand. A small framed photo of him leaned against it, his tired smile frozen forever. Amara stood beside the coffin, her black mourning ankara clinging to her thin body, a faded black head tie loosely tied on her head, some of her hair showing at the front. Her eyes were red and swollen from days of crying. In her hands was a tattered brown briefcase. The leather was cracked and peeling. One side was almost torn. The metal lock was rusty. It looked like something that should be in the trash, not in the hands of a grieving wife. "Na briefcase she inherit," someone whispered loudly from under the canopy. A group of women in black lace dresses covered their mouths as they laughed. A few men shook their heads, smirking and pointing. "After all his suffering, he left only that old bag," one man said. "Maybe it is full of dust from the mine," another added. Amara heard every word, her heart squeezed with pain, but she kept her eyes down. Just minutes earlier, the man had come. He was tall, with gentle eyes and a neat shirt, and he walked in as the pastor was getting ready to pray. He went straight to Amara, bowed his head slightly, and said in a low voice that still shook her heart, "My name is Musa. I worked with your husband in the mining company. Before Jacob died, he begged me to give you this. He called it your inheritance, and told me to tell you to train your daughters with it." Then he placed the briefcase in her hands, squeezed her fingers softly, and stepped back into the crowd. Now everyone stared at the old briefcase like it was a comedy show. Beside Amara stood her twin daughters, Miracle and Mirabelle, 17 years old, dark-skinned, slim, and almost the same height as their mother. They wore simple black dresses and flat shoes. Their swollen eyes never left their mother's face. "Mom, what is inside?" Miracle whispered. Amara swallowed hard. Her hands were shaking. She slowly bent the broken metal and pushed the old lock aside. The briefcase opened a little, just enough for her to peek inside. The moment her eyes landed on the content, her heart almost stopped. Her mouth fell open. Her knees felt weak. The world around her suddenly went silent. What she saw inside that tattered briefcase did not match the poverty of the man they were burying. It did not match the dusty compound. It did not match the mocking laughter. Amara quickly shut the briefcase before anyone could see, her fingers trembling, her chest rising and falling fast. Under the canopy, the laughter grew louder. "See her," a woman said. "She thought money will jump out." "It is just rubbish inside," another added, pointing at her. The pastor lifted his Bible. "Let us continue," he said. "Life belongs to God. Dust will return to dust." As the prayers started again, Amara held the briefcase tighter, pretending nothing was wrong, pretending she hadn't just seen something that could change everything. She had no idea that this moment, under a hot sun and old canopy, would be the day life turned around, for better and for danger. Hours earlier, that same day had started like every other painful day since Jacob died. Amara woke up in their tiny one-room house to the sound of a rooster and distant voices of neighbors. The room smelled of old clothes and kerosene from the small stove in the corner. On the wall, a calendar from 2 years ago still hung, with a circle around a date that meant nothing now. Debt Day. The landlord had circled it when he came shouting about rent. The hospital had circled it when she begged for more time. The food seller had circled it in her mind every time Amara came to buy food, on credit again. But Jacob never lived to see that date. He had been a miner. Every morning, he wore his old work boots and faded shirt and left before sunrise. Every night, he returned with his face covered in dust, his hands rough and dry, his cough growing louder and deeper. Still he smiled. Still he would sit with Miracle and Mirabelle and tell them, "One day you will fly in the sky. You will be pilots, I promise." Sometimes Amara wanted to ask him, how? How would a man who sometimes could not afford Gary send twin girls to aviation school? But when she saw the fire in his tired eyes, she could not kill his hope. Instead, she sat beside him at night, rubbing his back when he coughed, holding his hand when his body shook from fever. Then one night, the cough did not stop. He struggled to breathe. The twins cried. Amara wrapped a shawl around him and rushed him to the small clinic down the road, holding his hand like it would keep him on earth. The clinic tried. Oxygen. Drips, injections, bills, more bills. Then one cold morning, Jacob's hand slipped from hers and never moved again. Now, just a week later, his coffin lay in the center of their compound. As the pastor prayed, Amara's eyes were fixed on one thing: the briefcase. The image of what she had seen when she opened it flashed in her mind like lightning. It was not empty. It was not rubbish. She remembered the neat small bottles, each filled with strange, colorful stones that seemed to glow even in the dim light between the cracks of the briefcase. Some stones were dark and shiny like wet coal. Others were light with tiny sparkles that caught the sun. They were carefully wrapped in old white cloth and stored in rows. There was also a thick brown envelope and a folded paper with her name written on it in Jacob's handwriting. Amara. It was his last message to her. She could feel it. "Mom," Mirabelle whispered, touching her arm. "Are you okay?" Amara blinked and forced a small smile. "I'm fine," she whispered back. "Just hold my hand." They walked together as the men lifted the coffin and carried it slowly out of the compound toward the small cemetery not far away. Villagers followed, some singing hymns, some just chatting as if it was a normal walk. A few still stared at the briefcase in Amara's hand. "Briefcase as inheritance," one woman muttered. "Such bad luck. If only they knew." At the grave, the coffin was lowered into the ground. Amara watched as the rope slid, taking her husband's body away from her forever. Her chest burned with pain. Her tears rolled freely now. "Jacob," she cried in her heart, "why didn't you tell me? Why did you carry this burden alone?" Dust was poured. Prayers ended. People started to leave. Some shook her hand, their words empty. "Take heart. God will provide. We are praying for you." Then they turned and walked away, their black clothes swinging, their shoes raising dust as they left the family alone. By evening, the compound was almost empty. The canopy stood crooked. A few plastic chairs were scattered. Amara, Miracle, and Mirabelle walked slowly back into their tiny one-room house. She shut the door, dropped the metal bolt, and leaned her back against it. For the first time since the burial started, the compound was quiet. Only the sound of a distant radio and a barking dog floated through the thin walls. Miracle's voice broke the silence. "Mum, can we open it now?" Amara nodded slowly. "Yes." "Come and sit." They all gathered around the small wooden table in the middle of the room. A single kerosene lamp burned beside them, painting their faces with soft yellow light. Amara pulled the briefcase closer. Her hand still shook, but this time it was not from fear. It was from something new. Hope. She opened the briefcase wide. The twins gasped. "Wow," Mirabelle whispered. The strange minerals shone softly, even in the weak lamplight. The small bottles and wrapped stones looked like treasure from a faraway land. "What is all this?" Miracle asked. Amara carefully lifted the folded paper with her name and opened it. Her eyes filled with tears as she recognized Jacob's handwriting. She read slowly, her voice shaking. "My dear Amara, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you. Please do not cry too much. I have worked in the mine for years, not only for salary, but to look for special minerals. These are rare earth minerals. They are very expensive. I saved them quietly because I wanted to change our story. If I did not live long enough to do it myself, please take this briefcase to the big minerals market. Look for a man called Alhaji Garuba. He is honest. He will buy them from you. Tell him I sent you. Let him pay the money into your account. Use it to pay all debts. Then take the twins and leave the village quietly. Go to the city, buy a house, start a big business. Give our daughters the best education. These minerals are worth more than 500 million naira. Forgive me for all the days I was not there. I was working for this moment. Your husband, Jacob." The room was silent. Amara's hands dropped to her lap. Her tears fell onto the paper. 500 million naira. Miracle covered her mouth. "Mom, is it true?" Mirabelle grabbed her mother's hand. "Mom, we can go to school. We can become pilots, just like Daddy said." All three of them burst into tears at once. Not only sad tears, tears of shock, of relief, of love for a man who died before he saw the harvest of his hard work. They hugged each other tightly, right there on the small wooden chair, while the briefcase sat open like a silent promise. After some time, Amara wiped her face and stood up. "We must be careful," she said quietly. "No one must know about this. Not yet." They repacked the minerals gently. She wrapped the briefcase in an old cloth and pushed it under the bed. That night, the twins finally fell asleep, their faces still wet with tears, but their hearts lighter than they had felt in years. Amara did not sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dark ceiling, her mind racing. How do I find Alhaji Garuba? Who can I trust? What if someone tries to take it from us? By the time the first light of morning touched the small window, she had made up her mind. She bathed, wore a simple clean dress, tied her headscarf, and pulled the briefcase from under the bed. Miracle and Mirabelle woke up, rubbing their eyes. "Mom, are you going now?" Mirabelle asked. "Yes," Amara said softly. "Stay inside. Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone. Pray for me." They hugged her tightly, their fingers pressing into her arms as if they did not want to let go. Amara stepped out into the cool morning air, the briefcase held close to her side. The village road was already busy with people going to the market. She walked toward the main junction, her heart beating fast, her eyes on the dusty ground, whispering a quiet prayer. She raised her hand to stop a taxi. What she did not see was the dark car parked under a tree across the road, its engine running quietly. Inside, a pair of eyes watched her carefully, following not her face, but the tattered brown briefcase in her hand. And as the taxi pulled up in front of her, someone in that car leaned forward and said in a low, dangerous voice, "Follow her." The morning sun had barely risen, yet the village road was already alive with movement. Women carrying bowls on their heads, children running barefoot, traders pushing wheelbarrows, and motorcycles weaving between them. Amara stood at the junction, holding the tattered briefcase tightly, her fingers almost digging into the handle. She kept her head down. The last thing she wanted was attention, but she had already been noticed. Across the road, under the shade of a mango tree, a dusty dark blue car sat quietly. Inside were three men. One had a scar across his cheek, another had a gold tooth that flashed whenever he spoke. The third, sitting in the back seat, wore a black face cap low enough to hide his eyes. It was the man in the back who whispered the words that changed everything. "Follow her." Amara didn't know she was being watched. She stepped into a taxi and shut the door. "Market Road," she said softly. The driver nodded and started the engine. As the taxi pulled away, the dark blue car followed slowly, blending into the morning traffic. Inside the taxi, Amara held the briefcase close against her stomach. Her mind was a storm. What if this does not work? What if Alhaji Garuba is not there? What if someone finds out? She looked out the window, watching the trees, the dusty houses, the women with basins of pap, the men sitting by their shops. Her heart was beating so fast she could feel it in her neck. She whispered to herself, "Jacob, guide me, please." At home, Miracle and Mirabelle sat on the edge of the bed, holding hands. Every car that passed outside made them jump. Miracle was pacing the room. What if something happens to her? Mirabelle shook her head. "No, Mum is strong. She will come back." But her voice shook. They spent the morning praying, watching the door, praying again. Time moved slowly, too slowly. Back on the road, Amara's taxi entered the busy town market. The place was full of noise, shouting, bargaining, the smell of fried yam, pepper soup, engines, and dust. She paid the driver and stepped out, adjusting her head tie. She walked toward the line of shops and stalls where rare minerals were usually traded. She had been there only once before, with Jacob years ago. Now she was alone. She looked around carefully. Where will I find him? What if someone lies to me and steals the minerals? Her hands tightened around the briefcase. Someone bumped into her suddenly. "Madam, watch where you're going," a young man shouted. Amara stepped back, startled. "I'm sorry." The man walked off angrily. Amara took a deep breath. Focus, Amara, focus. She approached an elderly man selling gemstones. Please, sir, she said politely, do you know someone called Alhaji Garuba? The man looked up, studied her face, then her briefcase. Garuba, he repeated. Yes, he has a big shop at the inner part of the market. Just follow that narrow path, turn left beside the herb seller, then right after the place where they repair watches. Amara thanked him and hurried on. But she never reached the turn. As soon as she entered the narrow path, two men stepped into her way. Madam, one said with a crooked smile, our boss wants to see you. Amara froze. I don't know you. The second man leaned forward. No worry, you will know us soon. Her heart jumped into her throat. I am late. Please let me pass. The first man shook his head. We saw you enter the taxi this morning. Do you think we are blind? Amara's blood turned cold. They had been following her. She held the briefcase tighter and stepped back. I said I don't know you. They did not care. The man with the scar reached forward and grabbed her arm. You no need to know us. Just follow quietly. No shout. Before she could scream, a cloth was pressed over her mouth. Her world spun. The last thing she heard was, carry her. Then everything went dark. Meanwhile, Miracle and Mirabelle's fear kept growing. It had been hours, still no call. Miracle dialed again. Her phone is still switched off, she cried. Mirabelle grabbed her sister. We have to look for her. But where? Mirabelle swallowed her tears. The market, she said she was going there. They rushed out of the room, locking the door behind them. Amara woke up with pain shooting through her body. Her arms hurt, her head ached, her lips were dry. She was lying on a cold cement floor inside a dark room. Her hands were tied, her legs were weak. And the briefcase? She lifted her head quickly. There it was, thrown in a corner but still shut. She cried out in relief. Thank you, God. Then she heard footsteps. The door creaked open. 3 men walked in, the same men who followed her. The one in the face cap stepped forward. So, madam, tell us, what is inside that briefcase? Amara's heart slammed against her chest. I don't know what you are talking about. He laughed. You think you can lie? We saw how you held it like gold. We know something big is inside. He knelt in front of her and lifted her chin. We only want to help you. Remove the stress. Amara spat out the only courage she had left. You will never touch it. His eyes changed. No more fake smile, only danger. Beat her, he said coldly. The room exploded with pain. Kicks, slaps, voices shouting. Amara curled in a ball, praying silently. God, please, protect my daughters. Protect Jacob's gift. For 2 long days they kept her there. No food, little water, only pain. But she never opened the briefcase. And the kidnappers became angry, very angry. On the evening of the 2nd day, the leader shouted, She is useless. Throw her out. If she dies, it is not our problem. Amara felt hands dragging her. Her vision was blurry. Her ears rang. The door slammed open. Wind hit her face. She heard a car engine. Then, they pushed her out of the moving vehicle. She hit the ground hard, rolling onto the rough dirt road. Something flew beside her. The briefcase. The car sped away. Dust covered her. Pain shot through her legs. But she reached for the briefcase with shaking hands and pulled it close, whispering through tears. It's still here. Thank you, God. Thank you. The world spun. Her body felt like fire. She could barely move. But she forced herself to crawl toward a weak, flickering light she saw ahead. A small clinic. Somewhere. Anywhere. She reached the doorstep, collapsed against the wall, and whispered, Help, please. A nurse inside gasped and ran out. Madam, who did this to you? Amara couldn't answer. She just held the briefcase tighter and whispered one last time before darkness took her again. Call, Miracle, Mirabelle. Many miles away, at that exact moment, Miracle and Mirabelle stood at the edge of the market crying. They had searched everywhere. They had asked everyone. No one had seen their mother. Miracle fell to her knees. Where is she? Mirabelle hugged her tightly. We will find her, I know it. Then Mirabelle's phone rang, an unknown number. Her heart jumped. She picked it. "Hello?" The voice on the other end said only 4 words. The 4 words that made both twins freeze where they stood. "Your mother is alive." The clinic smelled of antiseptic, boiled water, and something soft, like old curtains. The small room where Amara lay was dim, with only one fluorescent bulb blinking weakly above her. The nurse had cleaned her wounds, bandaged her arms, and placed her on a narrow metal bed. But Amara did not wake. Her breathing was slow, her face was bruised and swollen. Yet even in that condition, her right hand refused to let go of the tattered briefcase. It rested beside her like a child she was protecting with her life. Outside the small clinic room, Miracle and Mirabelle ran inside as soon as they heard her name. Their feet scraped the tiled floor loudly as they rushed in, hair messy, eyes red, breath shaky. They stopped when they saw her. "Mom!" Miracle's voice cracked instantly, and she covered her mouth with both hands. Mirabelle stood frozen for a full 10 seconds before she finally whispered, Who did this to her?" The nurse, a gentle middle-aged woman in a white uniform, stepped forward. "We found her crawling outside the clinic," she said softly. "She couldn't walk. She was holding this briefcase tightly. We didn't open it, don't worry." The twins moved closer to their mother's bed. Miracle touched her mother's arm slowly. "Mom, please wake up." Amara didn't move. The nurse continued. She kept trying to say your names. Miracle, Mirabelle. Those were her last words before she fainted. Mirabelle's tears spilled over. She was trying to come home, she whispered. She was hurting, but she was still trying. The nurse placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I don't know what happened, but she's lucky to be alive. If she had come 10 minutes later..." She didn't finish the sentence. Miracle stepped closer to the briefcase on the bed. "Mom still held it? Even in this condition?" The nurse nodded. "She never dropped it. Even when she collapsed." Mirabelle wiped her eyes roughly. "She protected it because it is all we have left from Dad." Miracle looked at her sister, fear in her eyes, but also something stronger, determination. "We must protect it too." 2 hours later, Amara finally stirred. Her eyelids fluttered, her fingers twitched. Her lips parted slightly. "Mom!" Miracle rushed to her side. Mirabelle held the other side of the bed. Slowly, painfully, Amara opened her swollen eyes. At first, she winced at the light. Then her vision cleared. The first thing she saw was the twins' faces hovering above her. The second was the briefcase by her side. Her breath caught. Thank God," she whispered. Miracle held her hand gently. "Mom, we've been so scared. What happened? Who did this?" Amara tried to speak, but her throat was dry. Mirabelle quickly poured water into a cup and held it to her lips. After a few sips, Amara leaned back and closed her eyes briefly, gathering strength. They followed me," she finally said. "They wanted this briefcase. They wanted to know what was inside." Miracle stiffened. "They must have been watching from the funeral." Amara nodded weakly. "I didn't know. I didn't see them. I thought I was safe." Mirabelle's eyes darkened. "If they attacked you, they will stop at nothing." Amara touched their hands. "No, they pushed me out of a car. They think I'm dead. They will not come looking again. But we must leave this village as soon as we can." Miracle looked at her mother the way a soldier looks at a wounded commander still giving orders. "Mom, we will do whatever you say." Amara squeezed their hands gently. "I'm not afraid of what happened to me. I'm only afraid of what could happen to both of you." Her voice shook. "That's why we must go to the market immediately. We must find Alhaji Garuba before anything else happens." Mirabelle hesitated. "But Mom, you're still weak. You need rest." Amara forced herself to sit up a little, wincing at the pain. "I will rest after we sell these minerals, not before. Your father did not suffer all these years just so we could be afraid." Silence filled the room. The twins looked at each other, then at the briefcase, and finally at their mother. Miracle wiped her tears. "Okay, Mom, we will go. Today." Mirabelle nodded firmly. "Today." The nurse helped Amara sit up fully and gave her a light meal. After some time, she could walk, slowly, carefully, holding the twins' arms for support. She refused to leave the briefcase behind. She hugged it close as they left the clinic. The afternoon sun was beginning to fade. Shadows stretched across the dusty road. Dogs barked in the distance. Miracle hailed a tricycle. They climbed in quietly, keeping the briefcase between them like a sacred object. As the tricycle moved toward the market, Mirabelle kept glancing behind them. Miracle kept scanning the road ahead. Amara prayed silently, holding the briefcase tighter with every bump on the road. None of them noticed that a man leaning by a shop slowly stood upright the moment they passed by. But this time, he did not follow. He just watched them disappear into the distance. The market was still busy when they arrived. People shouted prices, sellers argued, buyers bargained. Smoke from roasted fish filled the air. Children ran between stalls. Amara led the twins through the narrow paths. "Look for the big gemstone section," she whispered. "Your father said he trades only in large minerals." They passed several shops until Miracle spotted a wooden signboard scratched and fading, Garuba Minerals and Rare Earths. "Mom, there!" Amara stopped. Her heartbeat quickened. This was it. This was the man Jacob trusted with everything. Mirabelle held her mother's arm. "Are you ready?" Amara breathed in deeply. "Yes, let's go." They stepped toward the shop, but before they reached the entrance, someone else stepped out. A tall man in a flowing cream kaftan. He was in his late 50s, with a graying beard, warm brown eyes, and a calm face that carried a wisdom only years of honest business could teach. His eyes widened the moment he saw the briefcase. He froze, then whispered, "Jacob's briefcase?" Amara blinked. "You knew him?" The man took a deep breath and nodded. "I knew him very well. He was one of my best suppliers, very honest, very hard-working. He brought rare stones sometimes, but I never knew he was sick." Tears filled Amara's eyes again. "He didn't tell anyone." The man stepped closer, voice gentle. "I am Al-Haji Garuba. Why are you holding his briefcase?" Amara opened her mouth to answer, but something else happened first. Something that made her heart stop. A shadow moved behind her, not a random shopper, not a passerby, a man, the same man with the scar on his cheek, the same one who had grabbed her in the narrow market path 2 days ago. He was standing at the edge of the crowd, watching them, watching the briefcase, watching her. Amara's breath froze, her knees weakened, her hand tightened on the briefcase so hard her knuckles went white. Miracle noticed first. "Mom, someone is staring at us." Mirabelle turned slowly, her face went pale. "Oh no." Al-Haji Garuba followed their gaze. His expression changed instantly, from gentle to sharp. He stepped forward. "Madam," he whispered urgently, "come inside, now." But the man with the scar had already started walking toward them. Slowly, steadily, with a cold smile. Amara felt her heartbeat in her ears. Her legs refused to move. Her breaths came in fast gasps, and just as the scarred man reached out a hand, a loud voice shouted behind them, "Hey, leave that woman alone." Everything stopped. People turned. The market froze. Amara whipped her head around to see who shouted, and her eyes widened in shock, in disbelief, in fear, and hope all at once, because the person running toward them was someone she never expected to see. Someone who wasn't supposed to know anything about the minerals, someone who wasn't supposed to be here. Yet he was running straight toward her, and he knew. He knew everything. The market was no longer just a noisy place filled with traders and shouting customers. Now it felt like a battlefield frozen in time. People stopped mid-bargain. A woman selling peppers held her basket in the air. A child licking a mango paused mid-bite. Even the goats wandering around the stalls seemed to freeze. All eyes turned toward the man running toward Amara. He was tall, wearing a dusty shirt and dark trousers, and his face showed a mixture of panic, fear, and desperation. His voice echoed again, "Leave that woman alone." Amara's heart pounded so loudly she could hear it. Who is he? Why is he shouting? How does he know anything? Miracle grabbed her mother's hand. "Mom, do you know him?" Amara shook her head slowly. "No, I have never seen him before." But one person recognized him. Alhaji Garuba stepped forward, eyebrows raised in shock. "Is that not Moses, one of Jacob's fellow miners?" Mirabel gasped. "He worked with Dad." "Yes," Garuba said quickly, "but I haven't seen him in almost a year." Moses reached them just as the scarred man stretched his arm toward the briefcase. Moses shoved him back with surprising strength. "Don't touch her, you hear me?" The scarred man stumbled, regained balance, and hissed at him. "You again?" Again, Amara's chest tightened. Moses positioned himself in front of her and the twins like a protective wall. "Leave this family alone," he growled. "You have done enough already." The scarred man spat on the ground. "Oya, move from road. This matter no concern you." Moses clenched his fists. "It concerns me more than you think." People gathered, whispering, "Who are they? Why is there a fight in minerals section? Is it police matter?" But Moses didn't care about the growing crowd. His eyes were fixed on the scarred man with pure hatred. Hatred born from something old, something personal. The tension snapped when the scarred man reached into his pocket. Miracle gasped, "Mom, he's going to—" But before she could finish, Moses lunged forward and grabbed the man by the shirt, dragging him to the ground. They fell hard, rolling through dust, punching, kicking, shouting. The crowd screamed and scattered. Traders ran, mothers dragged their children away. People yelled, "Fight, ooh!" Amara was frozen. Her legs wouldn't move. Her fingers trembled around the briefcase handle. Mirabel shouted, "Mom, we need to go inside the shop." Alhaji Garuba snapped out of his shock. "Yes, quickly, bring your mother." But Amara still couldn't move. Not until a sudden scream tore through the air. The scream of the scarred man as Moses hit him so hard his head bounced off the ground. Then everything inside her unlocked. "Girls, quickly!" Miracle and Mirabel grabbed her arms, half lifting her as they hurried toward Garuba's shop. But just then, the scarred man reached for a broken bottle on the ground and swung it wildly. Moses jumped back just in time. The bottle slashed the air near his face. "Stand back," Moses shouted. "Take them away now." Alhaji Garuba pushed aside the curtain to his shop. "Hurry!" The twins dragged Amara inside. Garuba slammed the wooden door shut and bolted it. People outside were still shouting. Inside the shop, Amara's breathing was shaky. Her heart wouldn't slow down. Her hands clutched the briefcase so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Miracle pressed her back against the door. "Mom, what is happening? Why is that man after us again?" Mirabel's voice trembled. "And why did Moses come shouting like he already knew?" Garuba rubbed his forehead. "I need to know what is inside that briefcase, right now." Amara swallowed hard. "My husband left minerals inside. Expensive ones." Garuba looked at her with disbelief, then deep sadness. "So it is true," he whispered. "Jacob always talked about finding something big, something that could lift his family out of poverty." Amara blinked. "He told you?" "Not exactly. But he once came to my shop with a single stone, the most beautiful stone I had ever seen." He sighed. "I begged him to let me buy it. He refused. He said he was saving everything for something special." Miracle wiped her eyes. "That something was us." Mirabel nodded, voice cracking. "He wanted us to be pilots." Garuba stepped closer and lowered his voice. "If Jacob truly found enough minerals to fill that briefcase, then your life is in danger. Those kinds of minerals can cause chaos if people know." Amara looked down at the briefcase. "So that's why they attacked me." Garuba nodded. "They must have followed you from the funeral. And if Moses is here, then something serious is happening." As if on cue, the shop door banged loudly. Everyone jumped. "Open this door," a man's voice screamed from outside. It was the scarred man. Miracle's eyes widened. "He's back." Mirabel stepped closer to her mother. "What do we do?" Garuba grabbed the twins and pulled them away from the door. "We stay quiet. He cannot break this door. It is reinforced." Another loud bang. "You think I don't know she is inside? Open or I break it." Moses' voice echoed outside. "You touch that door again, and I swear—" There was a heavy blow, a grunt, a fall. Then silence. the kind of silence that freezes every bone in your body. Amara felt her heart fall into her stomach. "Moses," she whispered. Had he been knocked out? Or worse? Miracle wanted to run to the door, but Garuba held her back. "No, stay inside." Another crash sounded outside, then another, then screaming. Suddenly, the door rattled violently, as if someone was trying to tear it off its hinges. Amara held her daughters close, shaking uncontrollably. "God, please protect us." The noise outside grew louder. Shouts, footsteps, people yelling. Then, a loud voice roared over everything. "Police! Stop right there!" The door stopped rattling. Silence fell again. Garuba let out a breath he had been holding for too long. "Thank God," Miracle whispered. "It's the police. Someone must have called them." But Mirabelle's face was still tense. "Mom, what if they ask about the briefcase? What if they take it?" Amara shook her head. "No one is touching it. This is Jacob's gift, his sacrifice." Garuba nodded firmly. Police cannot seize what they don't know exists. Just then, someone knocked softly. A calm knock, not a violent one. Moses' voice came through the door, weak but steady. "Madam Amara, please open. The danger is over." Miracle gasped. "He's alive." Garuba unlocked the door and pulled it open. Moses stood there, breathing hard, shirt torn, a cut on his cheek but still standing. Behind him, 2 policemen were holding the scarred man in handcuffs, dragging him away. The crowd outside watched in shock. Children whispered, traders pointed. No one laughed at her now. Moses stepped inside. He looked at Amara. Really looked at her. His eyes softened. "I'm sorry you had to go through all this," he said quietly. Amara swallowed. "Why did you help me?" He sighed, removing his cap. "Because your husband once saved my life. In the mine. He pushed me out of the way before a rock fell. He took the hit instead." Mirabelle gasped. "No way." Moses nodded. "Yes, he never told you because Jacob wasn't the kind of man to boast. But I owe him everything." He looked at the briefcase. "And I knew, if he left something behind, it must be important." Amara's eyes filled with tears. Jacob was gone, but even in death, his kindness still protected them. Moses took a deep breath. "Madam Amara, there is something else you must know." Amara's heart froze. "What is it?" Moses leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Jacob didn't just find rare minerals. He found something even more valuable." Amara's fingers tightened on the briefcase. "What do you mean?" Moses glanced at Garuba, then at the twins, then at the door as if afraid someone might overhear. "I mean," he whispered, "what is inside that briefcase is worth far more than 500 million. Amara blinked. "What? It may be worth billions." The room went silent. No one breathed. Miracle's lips parted in shock. Mirabelle grabbed her mother's arm. Amara whispered, "Billions." "Yes," Moses said softly, "enough to change everything in your life. And enough to make very dangerous people come after you." Amara's heartbeat shook her entire chest. "What do we do?" Moses looked at her with eyes full of warning, but also hope. "First," he said, "you must open that briefcase again, because there is something inside that Jacob wanted you to see, something even I never knew about." He paused, took a breath, something that changes the entire story. Everyone in Garuba's shop fell silent when Moses said those words. The entire room changed. The air felt heavier, tighter, almost electric. Miracle whispered, "Mum, what if he's right?" Mirabelle swallowed. "What if Dad really left something unbelievable?" Amara held the briefcase close to her chest, her bruised fingers trembling. Her voice was low. "What did my husband hide from us, Moses?" Moses stepped closer. "I don't know everything, but Jacob once told me he found a mineral so rare, so powerful, that even foreign companies were trying to get it. He didn't want anyone to know because he didn't trust the people around him." Garuba's eyes widened. "What mineral?" Moses looked at him. "Blue ether." Garuba gasped so sharply it made the twins jump. "You can't be serious." What is blue ether? Amara asked softly. Garuba shook his head in disbelief. It's the rarest rare earth stone ever discovered in West Africa. Only a few grams can be worth hundreds of millions. Some countries use it for high-tech machines, military hardware, even space engineering. Miracle's eyes widened. Are you saying Daddy found something that important? Moses nodded. He found pieces of it, hidden deep in the mine. He didn't trust the company. He didn't trust the supervisors. He kept everything quiet. He only trusted one person. Amara's breath caught. Me. Moses nodded again. He wanted to build a future for you and the girls. He always said, my daughters will fly planes one day. They will not suffer like me. Mirabelle burst into tears and covered her mouth. Miracle hugged her. Amara wiped her face. She placed the briefcase gently on Garuba's counter. Then we open it now, she said with trembling courage. Here, where it is safe. Garuba locked the shop door again. Moses stood guard by the window. The twins flanked their mother. Amara slowly opened the tattered briefcase, and the room lit up. Not with electricity, but with color. Soft blue, glowing like the sky trapped inside a stone. Sparkling pieces tucked in small bottles. Shining fragments wrapped in cloth. Garuba covered his mouth. This is it. This is blue ether. Jacob was right. This is worth billions. Miracle gasped. Mirabelle fell to her knees in shock. Amara pressed her trembling fingers to her lips. Inside the briefcase, beneath the minerals, was another note. The handwriting was shaky but unmistakable. My Amara, my heart, if life ever becomes too hard for me to continue, please forgive me. I saved these minerals for you and our daughters. Use them well. Use them to rise higher than I ever could. I love you. Jacob. Amara wept openly now, holding the letter to her chest. Jacob, you suffered so much, but you still found a way to bless us. Miracle hugged her tightly. Mirabelle joined. The three of them cried together for several long minutes, tears of pain, relief, shock, and deep love. When Amara finally wiped her face, her voice had changed. It was stronger, steadier, determined. What do we do now? She asked Moses and Garuba. Garuba spread the minerals gently on the counter. You do exactly what Jacob asked you to do. Take them to someone trustworthy, sell them, and leave this village tonight. Moses added firmly, and never tell anyone what you're carrying. If people find out you have blue ether, your life will never be peaceful. Amara nodded. Then let's sell it. Right now. Garuba adjusted his glasses. I will buy everything. Not for 500 million. Not even for the market value. He looked up at her with emotion. For the sake of Jacob, your husband, my friend, I will buy the minerals for 700 million naira. Miracle's jaw dropped. Mirabelle gasped. Amara's heart nearly stopped. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Garuba smiled softly. Say thank you to Jacob. He worked too hard for this. After counting, weighing, and checking every mineral, Garuba made the transfer. 700 million. Just like that. Their lives changed. By evening, Amara and the twins packed their few belongings. Clothes, cooking pots, school certificates, and Jacob's photo. They locked their one-room house, a house filled with too many memories. They didn't tell anyone where they were going. They carried their bags quietly to the junction and boarded a bus to the city. As the bus drove away, Miracle whispered, Mum, we are leaving home. Amara held both girls close. No, she said softly, we are going home. That night they arrived in Lagos. The city lights looked like stars scattered across the earth. Cars glowed, buildings towered. Life was everywhere. They checked into a luxurious hotel, something none of them had ever seen before. The beds were soft. The air smelled clean. The room shined like a palace. Mirabelle whispered, Daddy really changed our lives. Amara hugged her tightly. Yes, my child, he gave us everything. The next morning, Amara hired a lawyer, then a trusted property agent. By afternoon, they toured a mansion in Victoria Island. Tall gates, white walls, marble floors, a swimming pool. A large living room with a huge wall perfect for hanging Jacob's photo. Amara bought it immediately. A new beginning, a safe place, a home built from love and sacrifice. They moved in the following week. Amara started a business, exporting sesame to Europe and the Middle East. Within 1 year, she became the biggest exporter in Lagos. Miracle and Mirabel gained admission into aviation college. They worked hard, studied day and night, and stood out among all the students. 3 years later, graduation day arrived. Amara wore a beautiful gown and sat in the front row. When the twins walked up to the stage in their pilot uniforms to receive the award as Best Graduating Pilots, Amara burst into tears. As they hugged on the stage, Miracle whispered, "Mum, Daddy did it." Mirabel added, "He gave us wings." The entire hall stood and clapped. 2 years later, the twins' lives bloomed even more. Miracle met Jonathan, a brilliant aviation engineer. Mirabel met Jeremy, a caring medical doctor. Both couples fell in love deeply. 2 months later, a double wedding was held. Beautiful, elegant, filled with joy. Amara walked each daughter down the aisle, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Daddy is proud of you," she whispered to them. 2 years after the wedding, Miracle and Jonathan welcomed a baby boy and named him Jacob, after the man who sacrificed everything. Mirabel and Jeremy had a baby girl named Juliana, after Amara's mother. The family grew, love grew, their blessings multiplied. And the people from the village, the same people who once laughed at Amara for inheriting a tattered briefcase, now called her phone, now begged her for help, now praised her strength. But she never forgot that dusty compound, the mocking voices, the pain, the humiliation, or the moment she opened the briefcase and found the future shining inside it. Amara made a promise to herself that day: "I will honor Jacob's name for the rest of my life." And she did. Every single day. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.